It's in God's hands now. Kerbal God, Kerbova. All we can do is watch and wait. Hello. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Hardcore with Tabarnouche Interplanetary. We've built our vessel, we've got our moon rover tucked away in the fairing, and we're ready to go to the moon. Nighttime launch. Everything's looking good. Stability control. Full thrust to start. And go. So like I said, we're going to go for a relatively vertical profile. We are going to do a gravity turn, but we're not going to be too aggressive with it because we want to be still in line of sight of KSC when we're blowing our fairing. So we're shooting up, we can scale back the thrust from our swivel now. It's wasteful for us to be too far above a thrust weight ratio of 2 in the atmosphere. So we'll start our gravity turn. Okay, release the boosters, full thrust on the swivel. Looking good, high stability. Switch to prograde, continue our gravity turn. Everything is looking good. There we go, we have an orbit that's in space. Space prograde. Now, all we gotta do is burn when the moon comes over the horizon. Okay, so we've got a moon sphere of influence intersect. I'm actually going to turn our readouts back on because we're going to want to go for pretty much a direct surface intercept. I might actually bring the periapsis down to about 40. So we'll have a close flyby of the moon, and then when we're closer there, we can adjust where we actually want to land. Because while we're at it, we still have that strategy, which is going to give us that bonus if we find a new biome, in addition to the science that we have from a new biome. So our three previous probes have landed at the East Crater, the Far Side Crater, and the Lowlands. So we're going to do our best to land in a different biome than those three. And because we have wheels, if we can manage to land pretty much on the border between two new biomes, we might even be able to go for a little drive to collect extra science, extra funds. Let's take a look at what our orbit looks like. Very close to a surface intercept. Okay, so we're going to burn. We have no signal because we forgot to turn on our fuel cell. Can't turn on our engines. This ship is destined to drift forever in space because its fuel cell switch needs to be turned from off to on. And this is why people usually play with reverts on, but not us. We're gonna launch another vessel. Calvaire. Zoom in. Find the goddamn fuel cell. Right click. Start fuel cell. Launch. Okay. Our suicide burn reads as 820 delta V. We've got more than enough to land with our upper stage. We're set to land right now in the Midlands, impact biome Midlands. If we do the slightest burn until it changes to something else, then we'll be set to impact on a biome boundary of lowlands. Okay, we've already done the lowlands. Okay, well, let's keep burning radial in and see what happens. Right now we're at the border of Midlands and Highlands. That's 2 new biomes. We're gonna make the most trivial adjustment. There we go. Let's land there. Retrograde to the surface. Highlands, here we come. We have so much delta V to spare. So we're not going to cut it too close, but we are going to let it get down close to 0, just so we have a more reasonable descent profile. No point doing a bunch of stopping and starting in low moon space. It's a pretty reasonable looking landing spot. And full burn. Coming in nice and easy. Okay, we can cut our engines now. No point coming to a dead stop. Pretty soon, Kerbal engineers start telling us what slope we're landing on. "16 degrees. Okay. 12 degrees. 11. Getting better. 3.5, perfect. Let's cut our horizontal velocity to 0 right now. Look at this controlled descent. Thank you, fuel cell. Now, which way is the Midlands from here? Are we actually going to land on this stage. I think we might. I think we might land this big old stage. And we're tipping over. That's fine. That's fine. Yes! Look at that! Look at that! Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, set us type to rover. Accept. Contract complete. Rover deployment. Vessel type back to probe for a return. Here we are in the Highlands. We still got a signal home. Mr. Goo. Keep. Telemetry. Transmit. Let's see if this thing actually drives. Let's throttle to 0. Go to our next stage. We're separated. This should be armed. Yes. We put our wheels on upside down. Our probe thinks its head is to the sky right now. Head is to the ground. Oh, our wheels are broken. That tip over was too aggressive, so we can't actually drive. I can like walk our way forward. What happens if... I hope I don't kill us here, but I can't help it. I want to try. What happens if we... Let's just try and scoot along. Okay, no, that's just wasting fuel. Okay, we have 989 meters per second of delta V to get us home. Now, one thing you'll see if you look on Reddit or the KSP forums is a lot of people on their first landing on the moon with their rocket tipped over like this. And they've got the delta V to get home, but they can't right the rocket. So they're stranded. That is an indication that your rocket might be too big. So we're tipped on our side, but boom, pointed at the sky. Now we're going to rotate ourselves a little bit. Push that out of the way. Get out of here. Lower stage, you're in the way of our takeoff. And we're going to point ourselves to the east. We are close enough to the moon's equator. Now the trick for returning home is we don't even need to orbit the moon to get home. We're going to take off, we're going to fly equatorial, and when we're at the point that we are facing in the opposite direction of the moon's orbit around Kerbal, we're going to go full thrust and moon escape velocity in the opposite direction of the moon's travel is going to put us right back to Kerbal. We should be able to burn directly prograde until we've got an intercept with the atmosphere. Let's take a final look around, admire our surroundings. Wish that our wheels weren't broken. Kerbal could fix them on EVA. But alas, we do not have any self-repair technology. I'm glad we didn't land in that crater, or on the edge of that crater. This is a nice spot. And launch. Okay, dead east. Clearing the terrain, clear of the terrain. Low fast orbit. Maximize that Oberth effect. Okay. Now once we get... Let's watch ourselves fly over the moon. Flying to the dark side of the moon. Munar sunset. Okay. Thought I was shining through the moon there for a second. Now once we get... Basically so that we're halfway between where the moon's orbit touches the moon in the front and touches on the back. That's when we're going to start burning prograde. Not quite. Not quite. And here. We'll look at our signal back to the relay satellites. 5 antenna is the right number for this kind of mission right now. Until we can upgrade our network. Maybe a little bit further ahead. We're still not quite halfway. There we go. Prograde. And full throttle. Let's escape the moon. Actually, wait. We've got a lunar orbit right now. I think that there's a tough call here. We should actually be burning, rather than directly prograde, we should be burning directly east, because we're saving a little, we're wasting a little bit of fuel with that sort of up-down vector relative to Kerbal. So let's point ourselves directly east. We're pretty much on the equator right now. Come back out to our zoomed out map view. Full throttle. With any luck, if I'm not talking out of my ass, we're going to see an orbit around Kerbal that starts shrinking rapidly. We're going to want to get that within the atmosphere. 37 meters per second left. I think we're going to just barely make this by the skin of our teeth. Once it gets below 50, we're going to re-enter. Below 70, we'll re-enter. Slowly. Oh, 11 meters per second left. We can go a little bit lower. 40. That is a perfect re-entry orbit. We packed exactly the right amount of fuel. Which means that we didn't do this super efficiently, because we actually packed 500 more Delta V than we needed. But I'm glad that we brought that margin of error. All right. All that's left to do is wave goodbye to the moon and speed up time. See you later, moon. Good night, moon. Good morning, Kerbal. Flying away from the moon. Saw a lunar eclipse across the face of Kerbal there. That's lovely. Look at spin. And here we come, re-entering any minute. Uh-oh. Well, now we're hoping for the best. We're ever left to charge again because we're out of fuel. That 11 meters per second of fuel we had left, our fuel cell burnt through that on the way back to the atmosphere. But our parachute is armed. Our heat shield's gonna be just fine. We're pointed with our heat shield in the right direction. Pointed prograde with our heat shield facing the atmosphere. The drag of our vessel should more or less keep everything pointed the right way. Well, it's in God's hands now. Kerbal God, Kerbova. All we can do is watch and wait. See if we set everything out right. If we've built our ship properly, it should re-enter of its own accord. Okay. We lost some antennas. We lost our wheels. Do we still have our parachute? We still have our parachute. We're slowing down. We're slowing down. I was a little bit too cavalier about Calvaire there. I thought this was going to be less messy. But Tabarnouche. It's working. It's working. Our apoapsis below 70. We're not going back to space one way or another. No probe control, no power, no antennas. This is dead weight. Is the mechanism on the parachute calibrated correctly? It looks like it is. Coming in for splashdown. Looking at the moon, looking at the sea, the moon and the sea, the moon and the sea.
The sea, the sky, the sea, the sky, the sea, the sky, the sea, the sky, the sea, the sky.
We just see how fast we're actually descending. 5.6, that should be fine. Splash. It's sinking. Why is it sinking? Again? We're dealing with this again? Why is our fuel tank not making us float? Hopefully we're in shallow water. Hopefully we'll come to a rest before we... Well, we've seen this before. We know what's happening here. We're sinking, and either we'll come to a rest on the bottom of the ocean, or we'll implode due to pressure. But, contract complete. We don't actually need to recover it. We landed it. So it's only the science at risk. Well, let's see what happens. Approaching pressure limits. A old acquaintance be forgot. Come on, hit bottom. Okay. Oh my goodness. 272,000 Kerbucks. A clean slate of contracts. A little bit of a mess at the bottom of the ocean. And one parabolic missile that we are going to recategorize as debris. Okay, well, this has been a successful day, regardless of what those two probes might tell you. So this has been Tabarnouche Interplanetary. Thanks for watching.